We're going to go over how to calibrate a Sukup air switch, or the air switch we use in our dryers. So depending on if you get a switch from Sukup, it should be calibrated already coming from the factory, or if you get by the switch that's uncalibrated, then you might have to do a benchtop calibration or calibration before you put it in the dryer. But really it's pretty simple. Inside the switch there's a diaphragm that the pressure is pushing against, and just an electrical contact, and that's basically all there is to it. But you've got different springs. If you buy it calibrated, it should already have the correct spring in it, but the kit comes with several springs of different colors. The spring we want is the one that's unplated or unpainted. It's supposed to be natural colored spring. It's pretty silver in color, but that's the correct range we want. These different springs just change the range that you're setting the switch to. So basically all you have to do is the spring goes in the back here, and then we've got this little Allen set screw that pushes into the spring, and that adjusts how far you're basically compressing the spring, and it adjusts the set point to adjust that screw. So the easiest way to calibrate one of these, if it's uncalibrated completely, is to start by just putting the right spring in, putting that set screw in, and turning it all the way clockwise so it goes all the way in. And at some point you will hear a click as you're doing that, as it changes, it basically switches the switch. But you want to keep going past that, because that's where 0 inches of water pressure set point is. And you're going to turn it all the way in until you hit a stop, and you're going to feel it start to resist you a lot more. Don't keep cranking on it, but just stop there and then check to see what angle you've got this at. And you're going to want to turn it back counterclockwise 2.5 rotations. So there's a half, there's a full, there's another, and then one more time. And that should set it to right about 1/2 inch water, which is what we want for plenum pressure, either vacuum switch or a pressure switch. That's about what you want for your set point. So to prove that this worked, we're going to just test it, and this is going to pretend to be the dryer pressure, like you've got the fan running. I'm just going to squeeze this aspirator bulb to build up pressure on the switch. But if it's in a dryer, obviously the orange 18 or the 24 volt supply goes to the common terminal, and our signal off goes to normally open. So this is how it would be connected on an actual dryer. So if you're doing this benchtop, you can either use a multimeter and continuity, which is what I'm doing, or if it's on the dryer and you've got power to the switch, you can just put your multimeter voltage to the signal wire, and then you'll have to put your ground to 95, and you can check for 24 volts to see if the switch is satisfied. For me, I'm going to just be listening to the beep of the continuity meter here. So if you're calibrating it on a bench top, you're going to put your pressure line to the positive port on the switch. If you're on a dryer and it's a suction line switch, obviously the pressure line is connected to the negative tan colored terminal on the air switch, but it's going to treat those pressures the same way. You want the negative pressure on the negative switch, and if it's a positive switch like a plenum pressure switch, it's going to be to the positive black terminal on the air switch. So you'll see here that as I compress this and build up pressure, the switch switches about 0.5 inches of water. So this switch is set to about where we want it. Now, a dryer plenum pressure is going to be quite a bit higher than 0.5, but that 0.5 set point's a good spot for that to be set for either a suction line switch or a plenum pressure switch. So that's the basics of how to do it on the bench. Like I said, the process on an actual dryer is a little bit different. You're going to be using your multimeter. I don't have voltage connected to the switch to show it that way, but you're going to use your multimeter and look at the purple wire to ground and see if you've got 24 volts. And when the fan turns on, you should get 24 volts. When the fan shuts off, the switch should open and you should get no voltage. So that's the basics of it.